Hi guys, this is Dave Hathaway from Cyrus Advantage, and this is my professional learning plan for 2018. The Hadley strategy that I chose to implement in my class this year was the goals and instruction. And particularly today I'll be showing you what I've been doing in my economics class. I really wanted to unify all my units together, and I felt that I could change my expectations for learning in the classroom if I could do that more clearly within each unit. I really like teaching economics, and I really wanted my students to leave the class with some very clear understandings of the way the world works. So I was kind of motivated to edit this and make it work for my class. So my lesson plan for this class is this here. You might have a copy in front of you, you might not. It's just pretty simple. I added some things for this PLP to kind of expand it a little bit more. My lesson plans usually aren't this long, but you know, whatevs. Materials have review sheets. So yeah, this is like the lesson before a test. And so typically I do 2 days of review. So the second day of review, the day before the test, this is what I'd be doing. And as you can see here, it's Unit 2, Day 11, and I'll be making sure that I have review sheets. I'll even have a test, dry erase markers, things like that, that I'll explain in a second here. But what I did differently for my economics class, and what I'll be doing hopefully for my other classes as well, is making sure that some of the information repeats in every subsequent unit. So I'll take some stuff from Unit 1 and make sure that's on the Unit 2 review sheet and on the Unit 2 test as well. And I can illustrate that for you a little bit here. I have my Unit 1 review sheet here, and it just basically goes through the different sections. The book labels each different section A, B, C, and I can do that too here in my review sheet. We also learned how to look at supply and demand via graphs, and we end up doing some graphing here. This illustrates an increase in supply and things like that. So the reason I'm pointing that out is because that graphing then is something I will carry through to the other units. We will examine some of these scenarios in class, and using the dry erase markers, we kind of go over them together in class, and they'll have to do some of that on their tests. But so in order for me to allow the students to keep these skills fresh throughout the entire semester, what I did was put some of the Unit 1 review on the Unit 2 review. And so here's the Unit 2 review. Looks a little bit similar, but you see here before the A and B, which would be for a new unit, I added some little bullet points there, and economics is study of, stuff like that. So that's actually stuff from Unit 1 that I added to my Unit 2 test. And in that way, I just kind of want to make sure that all the knowledge, all the learning from Unit 1 starts to be transferred to my second unit, and so on and so forth. So I'll take then my Unit 2 stuff and I'll grow it on my Unit 3. I didn't pull all that, so and then I would like to show you how I compare some of these tests here. So here's my economics test. Pretty standard, multiple choice, stuff like that. But you'll notice here that economics is the study of is question number 4 here. And I feel like that was a pretty important question that will always be asked on every single test. And so for my Unit 2 test, then And the first question you see is economics is a study of. And for the first maybe 20 or so questions on my Unit 2 test is basically maybe not 15, I guess, questions. They're just copied and pasted from my Unit 1 test. I took about 50% of the questions out from Unit 1 and I put it in Unit 2. So, and then you have here at the end some graphing. Wait, this is my test. I need. So this is my Unit 2 review, and I copied and pasted from my Unit 1 review this question about Rob's Root Beer Floats Only Emporium that they had seen on their Unit 1 review sheet as well. And to go back to my lesson here, something that I use a lot to keep my students kind of reviewing information and making sure that the stuff from previous units stays fresh in their minds is Kahoot. And Kahoot basically just makes a little online quiz with a multiple choice format that allows me to review what was done in any unit for economics. So I can search here econ, and all my Kahoots for econ are here, and we periodically play. Even if we're in Unit 5, we'll go back and play other previous little quizzes that we made together from previous units. But anyway, so in my lesson plan, I have us playing the Econ 2 Part 2 Kahoot, and it's a nice way. Students have to have their phones or some other online device to connect, and they can kind of compete against each other, and they have different questions to answer. So I really like using that, and by saving the Kahoots, organizing them a little bit, I can easily pull up old ones. I can even print out these questions and allow them to make review sheets from them, which helps some students. I even warn them that occasionally I will take questions directly from Kahoots and use them on the test. And a great way for them to review the information that they've learned previously in the unit is to allow them to help me add questions to these Kahoots. I can go and I can edit them, and I can go down, and if they come up with a good new question, I just add questions to the Kahoot, and they do a good job of picking through their notes, kind of thinking what would make a good test question, and I can add that to the Kahoot. So all that to say, I use that a lot, and it's a good way to engage students and keep the material fresh. So I usually start class out doing a Kahoot like that. I give students wristbands to remind them about the test tomorrow. So I usually try to do this maybe 2 days before the test, but here I have 1 day before the test. I invest, well, I should say Vantage invested for me in these things here, little Tyvek wristbands, something you might have seen at, I don't know, concerts or at a bar or something. And they give these wristbands out, and they're very cheap. Here's a pack for 1,000 for 20 bucks. And what I do is I hand them out a day or two before the test. I usually write on them, you have a Econ Test Friday, and I say if you wear it for the next day or two and you actually show up to the test while wearing your wristband, I will give you a point or two of extra credit. And that really has seemed to help students kind of just remind them that they do have a test, and it's kind of hard to forget that you have a test when you have a big bright yellow wristband on your wrist saying you have, oh, Econ Test Friday. So I have a lot, fewer students than saying, "Oh, I forgot all about my test." Well, you can't forget. I can't force you to study, but I will make you remember. So, I make sure they have Unit 1 and Unit 2 worksheets completed as well. I have keys ready. Like I said, especially for students who maybe, our students, some of them come in halfway through a marking period or a semester. And so I want to make sure that they are up to speed on everything on the test, especially since my tests are cumulative. If they miss some of the information prior to Unit 2, they might need to get caught up. And what I do for that then is I just allow them to use their Unit 1 review sheet on the test. And that's usually a fair compromise that the student's okay with, and gives them an opportunity to do well in the test A, not be lost, and learn the material for future tests. So, and I warned them that about half the questions will be from Unit 1. Of course, as I move to Unit 3, I will take out a few of those Unit 1 questions, and 50% of the Unit 2 questions, and add my Unit 3 questions. So my tests grow and grow as the semester goes on. And I guess I don't know if I mentioned it before, but then that's an easy way for my final to kind of organically be created. 4, 5, 6 units, however many units I have, they've seen maybe 75% of the questions before my previous test. Some of them they've seen 5 times before. And so it makes going into the final really easy for them, especially our students with high anxiety. They know what they're going to face, and they are prepared for it. So I already mentioned I did some of the graphing scenarios. I do. That's a skill that I want my students to know and learn, be prepared for each test, and then give them time to begin on the essay. Usually I go through and outline the essays together on the board as well. One more thing I guess I can mention here is if I do make any changes to the test, or I review the test and I see a bad question or a question I want to take off or add, I need to make a note to myself to create a zip grade sheet. So real quick here, zip grade is something I discovered a couple years ago that has been super helpful. Basically, it allows me to create custom bubble sheets, and this is zip grade here. And so I have some, I'll just use a generic bubble sheet, but here, the nice thing about these sheets is that you can customize them. Now this is the generic 50 question bubble sheet, but if you get the app on your phone, you can say I want this to be my Econ Unit 2 zip grade sheet, and as students answer the tests and turn it in, if they have the bubbles filled out, I just take a picture of it with my phone using the app, and it grades it for me automatically. And now I started using this for a lot of my tests, but it's really, really helpful on finals when you might have upwards of 100 questions, and you need to not spend all weekend grading, so you want to have this, and it really makes grading go a lot faster. And students seem to enjoy it too. It also forces them to slow down a little bit while they're taking their tests, to have them mark their answers on both the physical test and this sheet. And once they're done, I ask them usually to go over their answers and make sure their answers match, in case they made any mistakes. So that really helps them maybe and catch mistakes, silly mistakes that they might have. So anyway, those are some of my ideas for my professional learning plan. Hope you'd enjoy it. I really think that this is a good way to help students out, especially those who might have test anxieties and things, and emphasize your learning points throughout the semester. All right, well, thanks, guys. Have a good day and in service.